Hello everyone, I am Brandon Bonifer and you are on Focus. And today we have the opportunity to sit down and talk with Sean Becker, the newly elected sheriff here in Wood County. Sean, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, today marks 1 week since you became sheriff. Let's kind of step back a little bit. We're looking at a photo here. Tell me a little bit about your inauguration, what that was like.
Pretty nervous, humbling, just the day getting to that point. We had quite a few friends and family that wanted to be there for the moment. A lot of people that were involved in the campaign. So we set it up with Judge Potter up in Branch 1 at the courthouse in the afternoon. That gave enough time for a lot of friends and deputies and retired deputies to come in and see it. So it was a nervous day for me and my family, and we invited quite a few people, and it went by pretty quick, and did a quick speech and just recognized a lot of the people that were there along the way. A lot of, like I said, supporters that stepped up and wanted to help, friends, co-workers. One thing during the campaign, I did not want to make the employees feel that they had to be involved. I did not want to push that on them. If they wanted to help, that was up to them. But I didn't want to imply that they had to. But it was just nice to see all the support. And then the biggest thing was the family support. My wife Julie, my daughters Caitlin and Jordan. The whole thing, just to reminisce about the campaign. If it wasn't for them, especially Julie, there was no way that we'd be talking right now. We had that discussion last December, or a year ago December. We knew Tom was going to retire at that point, and then we decided that, hey, this fits in our life, and we jumped forward and put in a lot of work, and we got here today. But it was a very humbling experience. I think that Wood County hasn't had a new sheriff for a long time.
14 years, I think, hasn't it been?
Yeah, so it's a big change, for especially the department. A lot of the deputies that we've hired have only worked under one sheriff. We were talking about that recently, and it's like, yeah, that's a fair discussion or a fair statement to say. Just thinking about it, there's only a handful of us that worked under a couple different sheriffs, such as myself. So it's a big change for the department. Obviously, for me, it's a change, and for the community, it is too. I wish Tom Reichert the best. I just wish him the best in his retirement, and yeah, we're moving forward. I'm looking forward to the challenges and working with the county board. It's been an interesting week. Taking a few deep breaths here momentarily. I found out there's not enough time in the day. But,
you just figured that out now.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'll make a list every day of what I want to accomplish, and I might get through a third of it. And then I'll just say, okay, gotta go home. It's time to go home. But
and we're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk a lot about some of your priorities and plans. Sure. And we won't spend a lot of time on it at the moment. But just elections. That whole night coming to an end. I mean, the whole process. I mean, I have to imagine it was your first election, first campaign. I have to imagine some people that you might want to thank or reach out to.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, all the supporters, but you have to really recognize the other candidates. They ran good campaigns. They got out there, the primary, Joe Flone, good leader over at Rapids PD, great career. He's got a great side business going on from J2 Catering.
It's really
a good person.
Tasty business too.
Yeah, I've had the food several times. It's very good. And his involvement at the Elks, he's got a great situation going there. But great person. He brought up some issues and concerns that we'll continue to take up. And then the other candidates, John Hiller, a great friend. We got hired at the same time at the Sheriff's Department. Grew our careers together. Just a good person, good family, great business in town here in Marshfield. Hiller's True Value, great people. And then furthermore, Ted Ashbeck, our captain of our jail. We're going to have a lot of conversations because that's a huge focus that the Sheriff's Department has to look at and move forward with the county board on discussing it, and we'll get into that a little bit as we move forward here. But another great person, great family. We all came from that law enforcement family. So we're all in that family together. But I just want to recognize them for the campaign and going through that year. I know it was hard on them too as well, but good people.
Yeah, I think Wood County doesn't recognize this. Maybe they do, but we were blessed to have 4 quality candidates run for sheriff.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't see that a lot of times in a lot of elections where you have a number of candidates step forward. We had 4 really good ones.
Yep.
And those candidates definitely brought out a lot of conversation, brought a lot of people talking about Wood County. And I have to imagine in the last 2 months since election night and coming into inauguration, that you have had a lot of time to reflect on some of those conversations that you had with people, some of those issues that have been out there. And now today, you're 1 week in. What are some of the priorities that you really want to tackle first? And you have that list of so many things you can get done per day, but what's really on the top of your boilerplate?
Well, right now the jail, as that was discussed all throughout the campaign. Does Wood County need a new jail? Well, if you look at it in a couple of different ways to look at that is, number one, inmate population. If you look at going back from 2002, we've been housing inmates out of county since then. Right now we're housing 100 inmates out of county.
And those are going to Opaco County, right?
75 are going to Opaco. We're in a long-term contract with them. And then now we just started contracting with Adams County, 25. So right now, just if you look at inmate population, yeah, the need for a new jail is there. We've outgrown our jail. We can't, at this point, really expand it. It's there, and inmate population has gone up. Then you look at our electronic monitoring program as well. That keeps people out of our jail if they qualify for it. That averages 35 to 50 people there. So now if you throw that to inmate population, now we're over maybe almost up to 150 inmates that are not in our facility. Our facility can hold around 125 inmates. We usually keep it around 105, for staffing levels. So if you look at inmate population, yeah, the need is there. Now you look at the facility itself. There's been a few maintenance projects that have come to light that we're going to have to address, and plus technology. I mean, the jail was built in the 1980s, so if you look at the structure itself, that's another way to look at it as a need. And then you look at the revenue opportunity. If we move forward someday and build a jail, you want to do it right and build it large enough, because then you can get those contracts with other counties that are going through the same issues, and then they'll house the inmates here, or state inmates. And that's a huge revenue opportunity, and a lot of those things need to be considered. Now at this point, had our first public safety meeting yesterday, and we discussed it with county board members. And that's the first step, having the discussion. Let's talk about this, let's make sure that we educate the public. Hey, this is where we're at, and then move forward from there. So I'm looking forward to at least having those conversations with our county board about the jail, because it's something that we have to address. I look forward to any county board member coming and touring the jail. We've already done a couple already, so that's going to be something that will, at least they can see what we're talking about, and we can move forward in that direction.
And we talk about a jail as a facility.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think that facility plays a role in recruitment? We look at staffing in the jail, and there's been a lot of movement in staffing over the last year. Do you think that's a recruitment tool? Is that a tool that gives staffing more confidence to make a career there? What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's a great point. To back up a little bit, in the last year we lost 18 corrections officers that have left the Sheriff's Department. Some ranging from having a month of employment, some to 5 to 6, 7 years, up to 15 years. We have to fix that. And a new facility, sure. Coming to a new facility that's built right, technology is a big part of it, and a state-of-the-art, facility. Yeah, that would be a big part of I believe, keeping our staff there. But that's something that we're going to need to work on immediately. I'm going to with our leaders in our jail.
You got elected in November, you took office in January, and in between there somewhere there was a whole conversation about the rescue on the south end of Wood County. How much of conversations have you been able to have in that? I know they restored it at the last hour, it seems like, before the year started, but what's been your involvement in that?
Well, to back up, rescue's been part of the Sheriff's Department for, I couldn't tell you, as long as my career has been, it spans over 20 years. So, but I know it's gone probably back into the 60s. Now things have changed with rescue, and there's a talk of duplication of services, which you have to look at how, is that a bad thing or a good thing? It depends. Rescue's a complete volunteer organization. The county budget, or the sheriff's department budget, was just over $10,000 for that rescue unit. So it wasn't a big budget item. Then you throw maintenance into the vehicles. So we're probably an approximate value on our budget, that chunk of it, it's around $20,000 to $30,000 a year, depending on what maintenance issues come up. So it wasn't a huge chunk of our sheriff's department budget. Now, when Sheriff Reichert decided to cut rescue for budgetary reasons, once that decision was made public, it really created a lot of interest from at least Southwood County, where why is this happening when you're only looking at this amount of money? And Rescue does their own fundraising as well, so it really brought a lot of attention to that rescue unit, and there was a lot of people that wanted to keep that rescue unit, especially in the south end of our county. Sheriff Reichert reinstated it until the end of the year. The county board then voted on restoring it for next year, and allows me to basically study it, evaluate it, how important is rescue to the sheriff's department, and gives us an opportunity to kind of market rescue to the rest of the county. There's no doubt that it's driven towards the south end of the county, and I can see where our fire departments up here don't get any benefit for it. So my opinion and what we're going to do to move forward is how can we communicate better with the availability of having rescue available for the entire county. And I understand that if there's an emergency going on in the city of Marshfield, what value is bringing one of our emergency vehicles up from Wisconsin Rapids? Probably not much, because Marshfield Fire Department has a great fire department. They have all the tools they need to deal with a car accident. However, on the flip side of it, what if you have a long incident going on, whether it's a structure fire or some other incident that you need personnel? By all means, call rescue. Mm-hmm. And that's for every fire department or any first responders within our county. If they need rescue, ask.
Well, and being in Marshall, I can speak to that heavily. I mean, there's a lot of conversation in the last year about staffing, and every time there's a significant fire in the community, and there's been about 4 of them in the last 13 months, is they're at minimum staffing, especially between holidays, and mm-hmm. They are going to add on more staff, but it's only one person per shift. Mm-hmm. Bringing back rescue does create a problem for you in the budget, I would have to imagine, because part of that budget was to sell off the equipment, and that would create a revenue opportunity. Correct. How much revenue was that supposed to create, and how do you manage those funds on a $9 million budget?
Well, it's a very good point. To back up a little bit, now that $20,000 to $30,000 that was budgeted for rescue. Rescue works, like I said, a lot on donations, and a lot of people, have stepped up and donated quite a bit of money to keep rescue going for at least this year for that $20,000 to $30,000 range. But the equipment, you're right. That revenue is supposed to come back to our budget, the sheriff's department budget, at $120,000. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to watch our budget closely throughout the year. It kind of puts us behind to start off the beginning of the year, and we'll do our best to make it work. We might have to come back to the county board and say, you know what, this revenue that's not going to come in has got a pretty big impact on our budget, and we need to discuss it and see if we can work something out to bring some of that revenue back.
A lot of departments over the last 10 year, I should say, have really introduced K-9 units. Mm-hmm. And part of introducing those K-9 units, and we've seen Spencer is going to have a K-9 unit here shortly. There's still departments adding that to the department, but now that departments have had those for a while, there becomes a point where every dog needs to retire. Mm-hmm. Are you facing any staffing shortages in your K-9 unit?
We will. This year, Toro, who Deputy James Pigeon has, will retire sometime this year. We're probably going to estimate towards the end of the summer. And Toro's had a great career with us. James Pigeon was Toro's second handler. Joe Zerflu was the first handler. So I think Toro's probably around 8 or 9 years old, and that's about the time frame that we have for a working dog. So the dog will transition into more or less a pet and stay with James Pigeon and his family. So we've got a decision to make for next year's budget to add a canine. We won't be able to do it right away just because once Toro's done towards the end of, like I said, the summer, that next class is not going to be immediate. There's going to be a little bit of a transition time. And like I said, budget-wise, the canine unit's around $13,000 or more. So we're in the process of studying of, where should we go to get that next dog. We've been going to a place down in Indiana, but there's another place that just opened up in Wisconsin, a couple hours away from here, that we're taking a strong look at. The Nekoosa Police Department also is getting a canine. They've been doing a heck of a job with drug investigations, and they had the idea of getting their own dog, and they've been just doing an outstanding job with fundraising. I look at this as another opportunity, if maybe, and I'll talk with the other law enforcement agencies, maybe some joint fundraising. Do something together where we all can pull our money together, and then if somebody needs a dog, like whether it's every other year, if we have that money built up into account, we might be able to fund it off interest. So it's something that I look at where we can take the opportunity to work together. Nekoosa just did an outstanding job with the way they fundraised in a short time. They've got the car covered, the dog covered, the train covered, which is, if you add that all up, and you're talking probably about $60,000+ just for the equipment and everything. So yeah, we're looking at we will replace the dog. We're going to keep our department going with two dogs. They work different shifts, so the availability will be out there for not just our department, but for other departments as well.
We look at canine units and we talk about drugs in Wood County, and that was a big conversation in the election and campaign series through last year. How important do you think a canine unit is in your drug force task management, or trying to de-escalate the amount of drug trafficking in our county? Essential.
Drug investigations. The canine units is just they go hand in hand. The canine units, the dog's a tool, and you got to look at it in that perspective as that tool can find things that we might be able to see or we probably won't see, but they can smell it. And my experience throughout my career, they're amazing. Just with the drug things, they can find heroin, marijuana, meth, cocaine, all that stuff they're trained to find, and people hide it in the craziest places. And the canine unit is essential to have for our drug investigations. Most recently, last Wednesday.
Second day in the job, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was briefed on it actually the day after, not the day after, the day of the inauguration when I was sworn in. I was approached by one of our drug investigators, say, hey, I've got some information I've put together. I'm going to go talk to one of our judges to get a search warrant. But we've got a meth dealer that's in the town of Sherry, and I'm going to see if we get a search warrant. And he explained to me, well, we might want to use our special response team, our TAC team, because of the potential use of weapons and the person who's they're going to serve the warrant on. So I'm like, okay, well, first things first, get the warrant. If the judge signs it, then let's do some more organizing from there. Well, the judge signed it, so next step was organizing, executing the search warrant. And we had our whole TAC team there, and it went they did an outstanding job. From planning it to executing it to the debriefing afterwards. And we took somebody off the street that is dangerous. He's dealing meth, marijuana. There's I think there's at least 20 firearms just located around the house. They weren't typically like in a safe. They were accessible to anybody in the house. So it really solidified the reason why we needed that TAC team.
And the town of Sherry lands right in the middle of the county, especially between the two major hubs, Marshfield and Rapids. So obviously that's something that's going to definitely fall in the Sheriff's Department's district. So, you talk about drugs, we talked about the canine unit, talked about the jail a little bit. Any other things that are really right on your boilerplate, or are you kind of also at the same time looking forward to where you can take the county in your tenure?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Another thing that we have to mention is courthouse security. The county board is going to fund remodeling the front entrance of the courthouse to make it more secure, something similar along lines of Marathon County. In the Sheriff's Department, hopefully we'll get the opportunity to man that. So we have deputies down there that can control that and making sure that nobody's bringing any contraband. If you look at Marathon County, and since they went and started this program, their program, just the contraband that they've taken off people is amazing. And I've told people, we don't have that type of security. You can imagine what is coming into our facility. So I'm really happy that the county board is moving towards addressing that problem. I'm hoping that they give us the opportunity to man it with deputies. So that's going to be something that's probably going to have to be decided fairly quickly because their remodeling is going to start soon. So that's going to be a decision here. Hiring new deputies will be another thing that we'll have to deal with. If the county board allows us to man that, we'll most likely have to look at adding staff. We'll probably have some retirees to come up, so that'll be another thing that's going to happen. And then, I look at people have to realize that it's going to take a while to change things. It doesn't happen overnight. And I'm looking forward to meeting with all the employees and asking them, hey, what do you like about the department? What have we been doing good? Now, what would you like to change? Where can we improve? I really think that those are where your best ideas are going to come from.
And that's what we need. We need good ideas. There's been a lot of discussion throughout the campaign season. First week on the job, you've got a lot of things on your plate. I have to imagine you're going to be pumping through that list. As any new sheriff, we sometimes don't necessarily know what we're going to have to embrace. And in Wisconsin, and recently and currently is on the national platform for a major incident that happened. Being a new sheriff, how prepared do you feel you are for a situation like that, or maybe something similar, or how do you go out and gain resources and knowledge to, be prepared for major situations?
Sure. Well, I go back to my experience. I was very fortunate to get promoted a couple times, spent time as an investigator, as an administrator, so I know the resources that are available. You really have to look at that collaborative leadership aspect, because if you have a major incident go on, like what happened in Barron County, the Sheriff's Department can't do that alone. You have to reach out to other sources, Department of Justice, the FBI. You can't do that type of situation alone. I'm confident in our staff. If we have a major incident go on, we're going to work it together, and we'll look at our resources and make sure that we move forward with it.
Well, sounds good. Sean, thank you for joining me today. It has been a pleasure. We are sure going to have you on a show probably several times throughout the year as you make some forward progress in Wood County. I'm Brandon Boniford on The Focus, and thank you for tuning in today. And follow us each and every time on onfocus.news. Thanks for watching.